What's up, everybody? Big Tony here. I don't have time to talk. Okay, I don't. I got things to do. I got business to handle. Okay, so we're gonna go fast. I mean, this might be the fastest lesson of the year. You know what? It will be the fastest lesson of the year. On my mother. Mwah, kaputs. All right. So we're gonna start off with the quote of the day. What are we? Humans or animals or savages? The author of the book, William Golding. So what are we? We got to think about that. What is the author trying to tell us that they are? That brings us to the daily objective, which is the same as yesterday. It did not change. So you shouldn't change. You should keep doing your work. Okay? I can interpret Golding's use of biblical allusions to depict the boys on the island. We're going to look at some more biblical allusions today by this funny guy, Willie boy here, William Golding. And you're going to tell me who is he making some comparisons to? Who from the Bible is he comparing so that we can learn more about that character or about the island itself? So we're going to do that today. So buckle your seatbelts. We're going fast. Not too fast, though. Take your time. Get the work done, okay? But Big Tony's got things to do, so let's go. Oh, I almost forgot. Don't go anywhere. Stay with me for a second here. Stay with me, okay? Tomorrow, that would be Thursday. Tomorrow, not today, tomorrow, you have a vocabulary quiz, okay? A quiz over the vocabulary terms. Okay, so you have two resources to help you with that quiz. The first one that is always there, it never leaves, under essential links in Google Classroom. It is the virtual word wall, okay? All the words right there for you, not for Big Tony, for you. Okay, the second thing, I'm going to drop a Quizlet, and you better study it, because come tomorrow, you're going to have to take that quiz, and if you don't take it, you're going to get a zero. Don't get a zero. Okay, so we're about to learn some new words for our vocabulary, but those will not be on the quiz, okay? Those will not be on the quiz. But we are going to have some different words that we'll study in a small group this week. All right, Big Tony's got to handle some business. Me and Mr. Willie, we got into some business ventures that I got to go take care of. So I'll catch you kids later, all right? Everyone, so we are going to start off with some active vocabulary terms. We got two new words for you. The first one is bravado. Bravado means behavior where someone tries to show they are not afraid. So trying to show you're not afraid. A way this could be used in a sentence: my bravado caused my friends to believe that I wasn't afraid when we stepped into the haunted house. So now what I want you to do is go ahead and use the word bravado in a sentence of your own. Second vocab word for today is indecent. Indecent means inappropriate and rude. Okay, so a way that indecent might be used in a sentence: in many religions, it is indecent to wish harm upon anyone, even an enemy. So now what I want you to go ahead and do is use the word indecent in a sentence of your own. Okay, everyone. So before we start reading, we're going to do one thing with a question. So you guys have read about purgatory and what it is. So we're going to read this real quick. In the Catholic religion, purgatory is the intermediate or in-between state after physical death in which some of those ultimately destined for heaven must first undergo purification of their sins before entering heaven. So it's kind of this in-between. It's not hell, but it's kind of an in-between place where people have to be purified before they're allowed into heaven. So that's the idea of purgatory, okay? So what I want us to do, my question to you, and what I want you to do, look at this photo on the right side. What are two observations about this painting that reveal information about purgatory? What do you notice about this painting that says something about purgatory? Go ahead and answer that now. Okay, so some things you might have noticed. The people in purgatory, this is purgatory down here, are burning in flames. So they're being purified through fire. Okay, and if you look at the expressions on their faces and what they're doing, they are begging or really desiring to go up to heaven. And then lastly, this angel is kind of a mediator between heaven and purgatory. But there's kind of this middle space between where they are and where they want to be, but they're undergoing this purification process. Okay, everyone. So what I need you to do now is get your Lord of the Flies novels out. Open to page 109. If you don't have that, pause now and get your book open to page 109. Remember that when you read with me, you become a better reader, and I'm going to ask you to go back and look at passages in the book, so make sure you have that book open. Our focus for these pages, 109 to 111, how could the rock castle, this place that they visited in the section we read yesterday, be like purgatory? Okay, everyone, so we are going to start reading on chapter 7 at Shadows and Tall Trees. Remember that Ralph and Jack have gone across and are now they're kind of on the rock castle, and they've explored this. Ralph is like, this place is kind of dumb, but Jack is really excited about it and thinks they could build a fort. So, beginning of the chapter. The pig run kept close to the jumble of rocks that lay down by the water on the other side, and Ralph was content to follow Jack along it. If you could shut your ears to the slow suck down of the sea and boil of the return, if you could forget how dun and unvisited were the ferny coverts on either side, then there was a chance that you might put the beast out of mind and dream for a while. The sun had swung over the vertical, and the afternoon heat was closing in on the island. Ralph passed a message forward to Jack, and when they next came to fruit, the whole party stopped and ate. Sitting, Ralph was aware of the heat for the first time that day. He pulled distastefully at his gray shirt and wondered whether he might undertake the adventure of washing it. Sitting under what seemed an unusual heat, even for this island, Ralph planned his toilet. He would like to have a pair of scissors and cut this hair. He flung the mask back, cut this filthy hair right back to half an inch. He would like to have a bath, a proper wallow with soap. He passed his tongue experimentally over his teeth and decided that a toothbrush would come in handy too. Then there were his nails. Ralph turned his hand over and examined them. They were bitten down to the quick, though he had not remembered when he had restarted this habit, nor any time when he indulged it. Be sucking my thumb next. He looked around furtively. Apparently no one had heard. The hunters sat, stuffing themselves with this easy meal, trying to convince themselves that they got sufficient kick out of bananas and the other olive-gray, jelly-like fruit. With the memory of his sometime clean self as a standard, Ralph looked them over. They were dirty, not with spectacular dirt of boys who had fallen into mud or been brought down hard on a rainy day. Not one of them was an obvious subject for a shower, and yet hair, much too long, tangled here and there, knotted round a dead leaf or a twig. Faces cleaned fairly well by the process of eating and sweating, but marked in the less accessible angles with a kind of shadow. Clothes worn away, stiff, like his own with sweat, put on, not for decorum or comfort, but out of custom. The skin of the body, scurfy with brine. He discovered with a little fall of the heart that these were the conditions he took as normal now, and that he did not mind. He sighed, pushed away the stalk from which he had stripped the fruit. Already the hunters were stealing away to do their business in the woods or down by the rocks. He turned and looked out to the sea. Here, on the other side of the island, the view was utterly different. The filmy enchantments of mirage could not endure the cold ocean water, and the horizon was hard, clipped blue. Ralph wandered down to the rocks. Down here, almost on a level with the sea, you could follow with your eye the ceaseless, bulging passage of the deep sea waves. They were miles wide, apparently not breakers or the banked ridges of shallow water. They traveled the length of the island with an air of disregarding it and being set out on other business. They were less a progress than a momentous rise and fall of the whole ocean. Now the sea would suck down, making cascades and waterfalls of retreating water, would sink past the rocks and plaster down the seaweed like shining hair. Then, pausing, gather and rise with a roar, irresistibly swelling over point and outcrop, climbing the little cliff, sending at last an arm of surf up a gully to end a yard or so from him in fingers of spray. Wave after wave, Ralph followed the rise and fall until something of the remoteness of the sea numbed his brain. Then gradually, the almost infinite size of this water forced itself on his attention. This was the divider, the barrier. On the other side of this island, swathed at midday with mirage, defended by the shield of the quiet lagoon, one might dream of rescue. But here, faced by the brute obtuseness of the ocean, the miles of division, one was clamped down, one was helpless, one was condemned, one was... Okay, everyone, so we're going to reread that passage we just read, and I want you to pay special attention to it. This is Ralph describing this rock castle. He said, on the other side of the island, swathed at midday with mirage, defended by the shield of the quiet lagoon, one might dream of rescue. So he said the other side looks really pleasant and nice, and you might dream of rescue. But here, the rock castle, faced by the brute obtuseness of the ocean, the miles of division, one was clamped down, one was helpless, one was condemned, one was... Okay, so my first question to you, what I want you to do is list 2 words or phrases from this passage that might allude to purgatory. Do that now. Okay, so some things that you could have said. He says you dream of rescue, that you were clamped down, helpless, condemned. Very similar to how these people were clamped down, helpless. They dreamed of rescue, but they weren't getting it. Okay, so my second question to you is, why might Ralph see the rock castle as a sort of purgatory? It's okay if you don't get this 100%. Just try to formulate in a sentence or 2. Why does Ralph see the rock castle as purgatory? So some things you could have said. This rock castle, it's separated away from the island. So if you notice in the picture, it is kind of separated. There's a little walkway that goes up to it, and it's separated away. So it's separated away from the island. It's close to the ocean, and it seems like you can be close to rescue, yet you're trapped there and can go no further. You're kind of stuck in this dingy place, being tempted by rescue, but never actually coming. Okay, so we're going to finish most of page 11 out. So we're starting at Simon was speaking almost in his ear. Simon was speaking almost in his ear. Ralph found that he had a rock painfully gripped in both hands, found his body arched, the muscles of his neck stiff, his mouth strained open. You'll get back to where you came from. Simon nodded as he spoke. He was kneeling on one knee, looking down from a higher rock, which he held with both hands. His other leg stretched down to Ralph's level. Ralph was puzzled and searched Simon's face for a clue. It's so big, Simon nodded. All the same, you'll get back all right. I think so, anyway. Some of the strain had gone from Ralph's body. He glanced at the sea and then smiled bitterly at Simon. Got a ship in your pocket? Simon grinned and shook his head. How do you know, then? When Simon was still silent, Ralph said curtly, You're batty. Simon shook his head violently till the coarse black hair flew backwards and forward across his face. No, I'm not. I just think you'll get back all right. For a moment, nothing more was said, and then they suddenly smiled at each other.